Howdy everyone, it's Sam. I hope you're doing really well. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. And if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. I decided to go through the books and I have found that halfway through the NRL season, I'm sitting at 67 correct tips out of 96. That gives me a 69.76% accuracy rate. So I'd take that any day of the week. I have gotten only the one. I've only gotten the one perfect round so far in 2022. Hopefully I can get 4 from 4 this weekend. There's only 4 games being played because of State of Origin, and because of State of Origin, the teams have been affected dramatically. Let's get stuck into what will be a really interesting round of rugby league. Round 13 of the 2022 NRL season kicks off on Thursday night from Seabus Super Stadium. The Gold Coast Titans hosting the North Queensland Cowboys in a 4X derby. North Queensland Cowboys coming back to reality a peg last Friday night, losing 22 points to nil, the first time in 6 weeks down there at Bluebet Stadium. I was there, great atmosphere. Jerseys look good on North Queensland, but unfortunately they had their worst game of the year as far as completion rates go. And then for the Gold Coast Titans, it was deja vu for them, unfortunately. They were up by 20 points at halftime and they let it slip by not scoring a single point in the second half, going down to the Brisbane Broncos 35-24. For team list news, especially the North Queensland Cowboys, there's a lot of changes, so we'll start with the home side first. Mwede Fotuaika, who has missed the past week or two, he returns in jersey number 8, bugger, and then Jared Wallace slots in at number 10. Isaac Liu is the lock, Beau Fermor, and Sam McIntyre is one of the starting back rowers. So David Fafita unfortunately re-aggravated an MCL sprain and he's going to be missing the next 2 to 3 weeks. So he won't be playing on Thursday night. And Big Tino, he's been selected to play in State of Origin, so he misses out on this contest as well. For the interchange bench, it reads Tanner Boyd, Jamin Jolliffe, Isan Masters, and Sam Lasone. For the Cowboys, let's get into it. So Scott Drinkwater remains. Brendan Elliott makes his club debut out there on the wing in place for Kyle Felt's usual position. And he's going to partner Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. So as I understand it, from jersey 19 through to 22 for both New South Wales and Queensland, those players are free to play this weekend. So Hammer, he was selected as jersey 21, and Murray Taulagi is named in jersey 5, but was also named in jersey 22 on the weekend. Now, in the 5/8 position, Tom Dearden is obviously usually there, but he's been selected as the 18th man for Queensland. That's such good news. That might be the best team selection news in State of Origin for me personally over the past couple of days. So partnering Chad Townsend is Ben Hampton. He makes his first appearance since round 25 or round 24 of last year. So it's good to see him back. And then in the forward pack, Jordan McLean, Cohen Hess, and Reece Robson. That's the front row. And then the back row is Tom Gilbert, Hylam Lukey, and Jason Taumalolo returns in at jersey number 13, you little bloody beauty. And then for the interchange bench, we've got Jake Granville, Connolly Lemuelu in jersey number 15, and Jermaine Tanoa-Brown and Griffin Neame in jersey number 17. Ben Condon is in jersey 18. Brenton Fry is in jersey 19, and Jake Burke and Riley Price are thereabouts. So that's interesting. The Gold Coast Titans have won 3 of the past 4 encounters, but that only loss to the Cowboys came just a couple of weeks ago on Anzac weekend, where the Cowboys got the better of them. They're going to be stinging from that loss to the Gold Coast Titans. I think this is such an important game for the Cowboys because while we did get humbled last Friday night in Penrith, we only allowed the Penrith Panthers to score 6 points on us in that second half. If the Cowboys want to really prove to everyone, and it's not that they haven't already proven it, it's just that this would be such a great win to have without 6 or 3 of our origin stars and having Murray Tuilagi and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow floating around the Queensland Origin camp for the next couple of days. It'd be such a good win to have, just next man up, really prove that the system is working as opposed offensively. Chad Townsend's still there in at halfback, and Tamalolo returns for us. Toby Sexton, and there's so much more upside to him. It's I think he's just hit that halfway mark, and I think he's just getting a bit sore. And yeah, he was a bit injured. He did get injured last week, but yeah, I think it's starting to really. I think he's starting to feel the rigors of regular rugby league first grade footy. And then AJ Brimson, I think he's the man that Cowboys obviously need to watch. He is in at 5'8", and he'd be stinging by not getting selected in the Queensland Maroon side. And Jaden Campbell, he's just electric, isn't he? I think even if I wasn't a Cowboys fan, I'd be tipping the North Queensland Cowboys. I still think there's just such great, there's some great weapons still there, and Scott Drinkwater's still having a banger of a year. Chad's still there, Cohen Hess, Hylam Lukey, Tamalolo. They're going to really miss Ruben Cotter's defence, and then Tom Dearden, so it'll be a little bit out of whack, but I mean, Ben Hampton and Chad Townsend, they're both pretty much veterans, really. They're both on the older side of things, so they should, I'm actually really looking forward to see how Hampton and Chad Townsend go. Yeah, so, and Brendan Elliott makes his club debut for North Queensland, so that's awesome. Cowboys, 1-12 on Thursday night. Go Cowboys! There's only one game on Friday night, and it's from Bluebet Stadium. It's the Penrith Panthers hosting the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. Coming into the game, the Penrith Panthers are the favourites at $1.31 to the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs $3.50. And I say this, I think back to the game Penrith had where they had 6 or 7 players out against the Melbourne Storm up at Suncorp Stadium last year, and they got pounded without Nathan Cleary and a good strong handful of their regular starting 13, 17 players. And they're missing 6 or 7 players again. The likes of Cleary, Luai, To'o, Yo, they're missing for the Penrith Panthers. Meanwhile, for the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, they played a really entertaining game last week against the Dragons down there at a beautiful looking Belmore Oval, and they nearly got the Chockies against the Dragons, but Matt Burton just had an absolute shocker, didn't he? But he's up against his old club, and he could be up for an absolute beauty. Conversely, Josh Addo-Carr returns after copping the flu over the past week or so. So he slots in at jersey number 5, and I've spoken about a couple of players stinging by not being selected by playing Origin. You don't reckon Josh Addo-Carr might be stinging? So for the Penrith Panthers, Dylan Edwards obviously remains at fullback, and he's going to be a massive key to their success. The halves pairing is going to be Kurt Falls. I think he makes his NRL debut, and Sean O'Sullivan returns. And Sean O'Sullivan, man, he was super ultra impressive in the first couple of rounds of the season when Cleary was missing for him. And then the centre wing combination of Tago and May remains on one side. And then on the other side, it's Robert Jennings, who's just been signed by the Dolphins as of a couple of weeks ago. And Charlie Staines makes a return to first grade as well out there on the wing. And then in the forward pack, you've got Moses Leota, Coruscant still going to be there. So there's still going to be a lot of creativity coming out of dummy half, even though he was selected in, I think, in one of the 20 jerseys for New South Wales. Fisher Harris, Viliami Kikau, Chris Smith is in there at second row, and Matt Eisenhuth is the lock. And then the interchange bench is Mitch Kenny, Scott Sorensen, Spencer Linu, and Jamin Salmon. And yeah, Jamin Salmon just going along about his work rather nicely indeed. That forward pack battle between Bulldogs and Panthers is pretty thick. It's going to be pretty full on. I want to tip the Bulldogs, I really do. But Robert Jennings and Charlie Staines, they've got wins under their belts there. They're good players in their own right. And that forward back for the Penrith Panthers, though, man, that's still a top 4 forward pack, even without the likes of Luai and Cleary there. Jacob Carraz for the Bulldogs, I think he's been rather impressive. I missed his debut game against the Broncos, and I saw him play last week and the week before, and he's definitely been one of the Bulldogs' shining lights over the past fortnight or so. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tip the Bulldogs. I just think looking at that forward pack, it's just still too good. And I think the Bulldogs at times have played really dumb over 2022. And Matt Burton did have a shocker. I do think he'll have a much better game up against his old club again. So I'm going to go the Penrith Panthers to win this one in a tight one on Friday night, 1-12. And there's only one game on Super Saturday, and that's from 4 Pines Park, where we see the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles host the New Zealand Warriors. The Manly Sea Eagles are $1.60 to the Warriors $2.35, and there are some significant changes for the Manly Sea Eagles. Daly Cherry Evans is out on Origin duty, but Martin Tapau returns from injury. So too does Jason Saab, and Carl Lawton returns from suspension after the uplifting tackle on Cameron Murray a number of weeks ago now. So Jason Saab is in jersey number 2. Josh Schuster moves into the 5/8 position. So hopefully he has a very good game, because he's been asking to have been playing in the 5/8 role, and now he gets his chance with Kieran Foran slotting out into the halfback role. So let's see how Schuster goes this weekend. And then in the forward pack, Aloye and Tofafo with Sipley start. Olakawatu, Davey, and Jake Trebojevic is the starting lock, and he could consider himself to feel unlucky not to be playing in State of Origin. And then the interchange bench reads Walker, Lawton, Tapau, and Sean Kempe, with Taniela Paseka in a jersey number 18. So there could be a late positional change with Paseka and I'd say potentially Kempe. Then into the New Zealand Warriors now. Rocco Berry comes in for Valea. Wade Egan returns in the hooker position, which pushes Freddie Lussick out into jersey number 18. And then the interchange bench reads Otokolo, Afoa, Penne, and Bailey Sirenen returns from an injury as well. If Dylan Walker, who was under an injury cloud for the past few days, was not selected to play, it would really be enticing to tip the New Zealand Warriors. How can you trust him, though? I'm really sorry to all the Warriors fans that may be watching now, but I simply can't trust the Warriors to get this done there. I think the Manly Sea Eagles back in front of their home crowd at 4 Pines Park, with a Josh Schuster in there and Jason Saab returning, Martin Tapau as well. I'm going to go Manly Sea Eagles to win this one, 1-12. And the final game of round 13 is from GIO Stadium in Canberra, where we see the Canberra Raiders host the Sydney Roosters. The Canberra Raiders are $2.35 to the Sydney Roosters $1.60, and there are team changes for both these clubs. The Canberra Raiders, Josh Papali'i and Jack Whiten are out on Origin duty, which means the backline reads Savage, Chotrich, Timiku, Chris and Rapana, with Matt Frawley coming in at 5/8 position and Jamal Fogarty keeping his spot in the halfback position. And then Corey Horsburgh starts in a jersey number 8 for Papali'i, and Zach Wolford keeps his spot in jersey 9, and Tarpany, who's playing some wonderful footy in 2022. And then the interchange bench reads Tom Starling, Ryan Sutton, Corey Hattawillanaya, and Trey Mooney as well for the Sydney Roosters. Joseph Manu goes back to fullback to cover for Tedesco. Daniel Tupou's out on State of Origin duty, which means Billy Smith comes in, and Joseph Sawali is the other winger, although he has been named in the State of Origin squad. I don't expect him to take his role up in New South Wales colours next Wednesday night. And then the centre pairing is Momirovski and Kevin Aguama, with Walker and Keary as the halves. And then the forward pack reads JWH, Hutchison in a jersey number 9, and Suasai Takiaho, with Crichton, Tupanua and Nat Butcher in the back row. And then the interchange bench reads Watson, Baker, Butcher and Terrell May. And I not bumped into, but I walked past Terrell May because I think he was out there at Penrith's Bluebet Stadium last Friday night. He is an enormous human being, and he had a really nice debut as well, just quietly. Raiders game against the Parramatta Eels last week, it was a good game, but they didn't score any tries in that second half. They put a penalty goal on, a really strange decision in the end, and yeah, that's what really lost them the game against the Parramatta Eels defence that was really stout, really staunch. And then the Sydney Roosters, I've said a couple of times that, you know, that might be the game that really livens up their season, and look out. But there's just something about the Sydney Roosters where for about 15 to 20 minutes a game, it looks like they lose their luster. And it really lets sides back in, especially in the game last weekend against the Cronulla Sharks. But eventually their class did show, and I think the scoreline does reflect the dominance the Roosters had over the Sharks last week. I think the fact that Keary and Walker are still in the halves, and same with the forward pack, that's unchanged. That's not going to be State of Origin affected. I do think that gives the Roosters the edge. While the Canberra Raiders, though, I think if they can win, I think their backline needs to be pretty electric and really switched on this time round. I think just a couple of their tries were very lucky, like Gutherson dropped the ball and Sebastian Kris jumped on it, and there was nothing really. There weren't many tries that were created for the Canberra Raiders last week through grit, if that makes sense. So I'm going to go the Sydney Roosters. I think with Sawali also playing out there on the edges after a couple of days in State of Origin camp for New South Wales as well, I think that's just going to do him the world of good. The Sydney Roosters the world of good. I think this will be a close game though, and I'm going to tip the Sydney Roosters to win this one, 1-12. Ladies and gents, that's it for me this week. Thank you very much for tuning in and stopping by and saying g'day, and for the continued support as always. Expect some more content from me over the next couple of days as well. Had a really nice time out at Penrith last Friday night, minus the result, meeting everyone and just getting out to Bluebet for the last time before she's knocked down. Hope your team goes well this weekend, except for the Gold Coast Titans, and State of Origin next Wednesday. How bloody good. Anyway guys, take care. Adios. Thank you very much.